That's just fixed housing.
So the federal government just announced an update to their first-time homebuyer GST exemption on new build properties. Previously, the exemption was up to $350,000 for a full exemption, and then a partial exemption up to $450,000. But that was never indexed to inflation or the HPI, so that number was laughably low. For instance, a new build property here in the Fraser Valley, even like a 350 square foot micro suite, is going to run you close to 400,000. As you get closer to Vancouver, it's going to be significantly higher. So essentially, it wasn't serving anyone. As of recently, they've announced that they're increasing that limit to 1 million for a full exemption for first-time homebuyers buying new property, and a partial exemption up to 1.5 million, which sounds great on paper. I'll be the first person to celebrate paying less taxes. But who is this actually helping? According to a recent CMHC consumer survey, only 12% of all homebuyers were first-time homebuyers, so a pretty small percentage. And that number gets even smaller when you account for what first-time homebuyers are actually buying. First-time homebuyers, by and large, are not buying pre-sale products. Some are, but the most aren't, for a couple of different reasons. The first is that resale simply represents a better value for your dollar. You get more square footage, it might be a couple of years old, but you end up getting a lot more home. The common misconception that pre-sales represent some sort of a deal because you're buying it ahead of time is completely misplaced. You're generally paying a premium for new build. And the second portion of that is timeline. For condo pre-sales, it's usually about a 24-month build-out. Townhomes, 12 to 18 months. Detached might be a little bit less, but regardless, most first-time homebuyers aren't operating on that long of a window. They're hoping to move into their place in 2 to 3 months. This proposal was first floated during the election campaign, and at the time I put out a video discussing how I preferred the conservative approach to this, simply because their idea was to remove GST on new builds for all buyers, not just first-time home buyers, up to 1.5 million, which would arguably have a much larger impact. They were also pushing provinces to either completely remove or significantly reduce their property transfer tax, which arguably would have made an even greater impact. In fact, almost 30% of all homebuyers reported the property transfer tax as a significant unexpected cost because you can't wrap that cost into the mortgage. If you're interested in learning more about the property transfer tax here in BC, including how much they've collected since inception, you can read the article I wrote at jkre.ca. Just a heads up, it's a scam. And I hear some of you saying, but Jordan, you just prefer the conservatives, so of course you'll support their idea. And to that I say, no, I support good policy. I don't care if it's the blue nincompoops in charge or the red nincompoops in charge. In my opinion, left wing, right wing, same bird. Look, if it's shit policy and poor execution, I'm going to call it out either way. Bottom line, this is an update to a way outdated program that will help some people, but let's not pretend this is some sort of meaningful reform. It's also not indexed to inflation or HPI either, so it also has a shelf life. Makes for a great photo op though.